All right, I'm excited to tell you the sucker is all done and ready to go. I've done a lot of little extra things. I polished up these lights when I put them back in, so those are nice and clean. And I did the same with these flipper mechs. I cleaned the tops and the underside of them and the springs and stuff, so they're nice. And, you know, when it gets going again, it'll play nicely. I did not try to line them up, so they're not lined up right. Obviously, when that gets reassembled, that'll be the time for that. I went over all of these 3 rails that you guys left on, and I went ahead and gave them a light sanding just to clear them up a little bit because they looked so bad. And then I coated them with sanding sealer and steel wooled it to make it nice. And I polished these. I polished those guys up, those guide rail things there, and I went through all the switches and cleaned up the wires on them, and I think everything should be good. I checked these. I don't know, those are going to have to be adjusted during play testing if you go that far with this top. I keep calling this a top. I don't know. Top and playfield, interchangeable to me, whatever. Anyways, so this sucker is ready to roll, mister. It just needs extra parts back on it. I put all the other parts back where they are supposed to go, and ooh, look at that. That is so nice right there. That is going to be beautiful to play on. It's going to be so smooth. This section is nice and smooth. I don't know if you can see, it does have quite a I don't know, a trough. But it's not so bad. It's just deeply stained. But anyways, I am super proud of this. All I got to do now is pack it and screw the top back on the case, and she'll be ready to go. So I'm not sure if he's going to want to check it out before they leave. If he's coming, I don't know. I'm not sure what's happening, but I figure I'll wait until that day, and if he's coming, then, you know, he can see it before he takes off with it. Oh, I just remembered I do have one more thing. I think there was only one of these nails, so I've got to put that nail back after I polish it up. But there she is, beautiful and ready to go. So that's that for this video. I'll post this probably in a few days after I edit it, and then I will see you next time with, I think, 2 more of this particular playfield, but I might take a break. He's sending 4 more playfields, and they'll be fun because they'll have all of the stuff on top. So not only will I be restoring the ink and the surface, I'll also be cleaning and restoring all the parts that are usable that are still on top. So that'll be plastics and bumpers and things like that. So yeah, should be a nightmare taking 5 pop bumpers off, but still, it's going to be fun. So what I like to do is take a little piece of 4-0 steel wool, and I'll start down here at the bottom, and I just hold this end with my fingers to support it, and I leave the other side of it stuck down here. Now, if you really want to get detailed, you can remove this wire and do a more deep cleaning kind of thing, I guess, and do the whole thing if you want to. But for this particular table, I'm just gonna wrap the steel wool around it and just pinch it and work my way around. And we're gonna get this top section here, and just gonna steel wool this whole wire. Now, I believe these wires are spring steel, and so they don't typically really rust or anything. They just kind of accumulate whatever is, you know, dust or grunge from from outside of the machine, but you can see how nice and shiny that looks now. And then in order to get that back underneath the switch, grab my screwdriver over here. And I'm going to just very carefully lift it up. And you don't want to, you really want to try to get right at the very end of these. So I should use 2 screwdrivers probably. I think I will. Hang on. So I'll just grab this other slotted screwdriver. And we'll slip it under this end so that we can lift it up right here. And that way I can get the screwdriver right under the end of it there. And I want to hold that up just enough to clear this little piece of the wire. And as I'm doing this, I need to make sure that this far side is secure underneath this little pin kind of gripper, that little hook under there. So I'll lift that up just enough and we'll get that down in there. And now it's halfway there. So I'm going to push right here very gently with this and pull this way very gently. I don't want to bend the wire, obviously, so I'm just going to hook it around that. Let's see. This way. There we go. There. So that's nicely in there, and yeah, as you can see, she'll move nicely and that switch is making contact. So that is how to just clean the top of a switch wire. And now that'll look great on the surface. And whoever's going to do the assembly of this particular table, machine, whatever you call it, should go in here with some a very fine file, or actually, you know what, don't use a file in these. You could use just a piece of kind of rough paper, actually, just to sort of polish off the what do you call that? Like the grunge. Okay, so next up, what I have here is this slingshot over here. So I had to remove this and the 2 switches, which are hanging here, in order to refinish the playfield. So what I can do is, what I like to do is, since this is really nasty, I don't want to see this nasty thing poking up through the bottom of the playfield I just redid. So I'm going to go back on the back side of this guy, the solenoid mount, and I'm just going to loosen up. Oh, I hate slotted screws. I'm just going to loosen up the 1 screw I have holding it secure. I mean, I have 4 screws in it in the mount, but only 1 was tight, and that way I can lift this up and pull this little guy out of there. So that is that. I'm going to leave the spring right there, and let me get a better angle. Alright, so I want to clean this whole thing off. It looks like this plunger piece is in good shape, and all the linkages are good. This fiber linkage is in okay shape. There's not any bad play. This play is fine this way. If you're new to pinball, don't ever lubricate any of this stuff. It's best to just leave it the way it is, dry. It's meant to be left dry. And if you put oils or anything underneath your playfield, that oil is one of those things that can end up all over the playfield. Even though it seems like it won't go anywhere, you'd be surprised. Oils have a tendency of making it pretty much everywhere on a pinball machine or anything. So I'm going to take my alcohol spray and, oops, wait, let me move this to a better spot on here. That looks good. Okay. So I'm just going to take this guy and I'm going to soak it. And I'm doing it like this so that it soaks into the cloth too. And now what I can do is I can just take this cloth and use the damp parts to really give this a nice, good initial wipe down. Let me get a little bit more in there. So I like to do the alcohol because, for one thing, the alcohol dries really fast, but it also, well, and by that I mean it won't rust anything, you know, and it won't swell wood if you are cleaning wood or something like that. So we'll get that nice and clean as we can without knocking all the screws off the desk. That looks pretty nice. All right. So there's a lot of discoloration and stuff that you can't really get rid of, but if you want to take this to the next level, you can take a piece of steel wool and, as you can see, maybe not, there we go, that gives a nice shine to this. So I'm just gonna kind of go around. I want to get these edges on this part especially, and really gonna press it down in there and try to get that nice and clean. I think that these mech parts are just one of those things that should always be nice and clean and well taken care of, you know. So, okay, that's dirty. So I'm going to go through and actually use a clean towel here and wipe that down, and as you can see, this looks a whole lot better. It's not perfect. Again, like, I'm not sure if you can see that discoloration, but where it was sticking up through the playfield, now it's kind of a stained kind of discoloration. Pretty sure that's just nicotine that does that. Making sure to get any residue of that, out of there. Okay, now with the spring, you can wipe these down. The way I like to do that is, well, just, whoops, you can just slide them back onto the thing and compress them down. And let's see if I have any clean, yeah, there we go. So, oops, I like to squeeze them down like this, and I will go across the spring with the rag to clean off any grunge off that spring too. And then you can kind of pull it down gently. I mean, you can be pretty firm with these, but you don't want to bend them, obviously. Okay, so there, that looks great. And now I can slip this back in there. The way you want to do that is, let's see. So pull the spring down and then hold it with your fingers as you slip this back up into the coil. Now is also a great time to replace the sleeve in the coil. If oops, wait, let me get it over this. It's not easy sometimes. So yeah, if you wanted to do like top level job on this particular machine, then you would put a new coil sleeve in there. But honestly, that one has really great travel, so I'm not going to worry about it. Plus, I don't know exactly what he's wanting to do with this particular top, so I'm not going to worry about that. But I'm going to go ahead and let that go, and now I can tighten all these guys in the back. So we'll get these 4 screws down in there. And if I have a lot of heavy breathing, I'm sorry about that. I have asthma. Yeah, I know. On top of everything else, I have asthma. So here we go. So yeah, that causes my breathing to be a little bit loud and strained at times. Okay, so there's another thing I want to do in here before, let's see, there it is. Before I finish this up and put these switches back, I want to show you the inside of that light right there. So you see, oops, wait, go back. Go back. That. So what I want to do is I'm going to take a Q-tip and I'm going to just give it a little squirt, just enough to get it wet. And then I'm going to just gently go in here. And I don't want to push hard or anything like that, but I'm going to just swab up any of the dust and dirt and junk that's in this hole. And that looks really nice. All right, so we'll just leave that like that. And we've got another one on this side that's yellow. And we're just gonna go in there. And get that cleaned out. Got some good grunge out of there. Okay, now, oh no, I made a big boo-boo. I forgot to put this down through the hole before I tightened up all the screws. So now, because I am a forgetful Betty, I'm gonna have to go through, loosen these guys back up a little bit. See, even us pros, we make mistakes, you know, everybody forgets something, or, you know, sometimes you just make a mistake and you can't get hung up on it. You just gotta do what you gotta do, you know. All right, I'm gonna see if I can make it work. Yeah, there we go. Oops, I just remembered something else. I gotta loosen these guys. See, these slingshots can be a little tricky, and there's a lot to consider when you're fixing up one of these things. Okay, there we go. Get that on there. At least I'm not having to try to hold my phone anymore. I finally got a nice little tripod. My friend's mother passed away, and I was the happy recipient of all her camera stuff. Yeah, pretty rad. I was very thankful. And a guitar too, an acoustic guitar, which I have hanging on my wall in my office. Thank you, Jackie. She was an awesome lady. My friend Tim and I were introduced back when we were in our junior high days. Tim was a year ahead of me, and his mom and my mom were teachers, and they decided that they should get their kids together, and so we are still friends to this day. And I love Tim. He's one of the best friends I've ever had, and I'm so grateful to him for his friendship, and to his mom and my mom for getting us together. Oh, yeah. Anyways, get these screws back down here. So, yeah. I guess I'll just do this and ramble while I do it, you know? I don't know that anybody really wants to hear me talking about anything that's not pinball related, or probably really want to hear me talking about Corvette related stuff. Which I am in the process of trying to sell the Corvette, but the thing is I'm not wanting to sell my Corvette, but I'm late on my mortgage, and I'm late on a pretty hefty credit payment, so I'm kind of freaking out a little bit, but at the same time, let's just double check, make sure this switch looks like it's going to work great. Yeah, that's perfect. So that's kind of sticky because of the angle I'm pushing it up at. Just FYI. I saw something I wanted to try. Let's see. So I noticed that the top of this has some corrosion or something on it. So I want to take some alcohol and see if I can clean any of this up. Oh my gosh, yeah. That's really gross. Let's just see how that works. Okay, the next thing I want to do with these switches and stuff is, since they do protrude up above the playfield surface, I like to take some steel wool and just very carefully steel wool the back, or the blades of these. And it's going to be hard to do, and honestly, looking at this one, it's pretty well pitted and worn, so I'm not going to really worry about it terribly. And of course, steel wool leaves a mess, so I also, you know, one of the big things you got to do is make sure that stuff is not in there when you are done and you send your, you know, table back to the, or your, I shouldn't keep calling this a table, when you send your playfield back to its cabinet, you want to make sure there's nothing in it that's gonna short anything out. But the nice thing about it is that if that happens, we have fuses. But even more realistically speaking, the particles of wire, I guess, wool, steel wool, are so fine that they will just pretty much incinerate immediately and not cause any issues. Okay, now here's another thing I like to try to do. It's there. I don't know if you saw that, but the screw just dropped into the slot, so now it's lined up with the slots, or with the threads. I'm sorry. Shit. I just saw a tiny little spider running around. Okay, so I'll get that one down, and that is one down, one to go, and we'll be done with this slingshot here. It's good too to get the sides of these, because you know that helps quite a bit. And if you wanted to, you can just take these apart carefully and do it, or even better, just buy new ones. But yeah, like I said, these aren't that great. I mean, they're not bad though, but I'm not gonna worry about them past what we got right there. So that goes in there, and then we get this little dude started. Feel for the threads. Slip it in there. Screw number 2, which is a little different, but still gonna work. And you can hear it pop too when it drops down. Alright, nice and tight. Don't want to over tighten, just get it snug like a bug in a rug, yeah. Alright, there we go. Also got to tighten this down. Actually, I'll use a bigger screwdriver for this. Oh, and that's that part there. Sorry, I can't see it. Yeah, it's nice that they went to Phillips head screws after some time. Alright, there we go. Now that's done, and I think I have one more. That ground wire needs to be fixed. I wonder if they know that that's broken. I'll bet they don't. I need a stand thing for this thing here. Those fix. I hope my boobs aren't showing. Okay, now I noticed that this wire has been broken, so I'm gonna go ahead and fix that. And I'm gonna do it so that I don't have to add a wire to this. I don't know if you can tell, but they really pulled that wire over to this corner, and my guess is that they stretched it a bunch, because it's a really strong braided ground wire right there. So what my plan here to do is I'm gonna go ahead and take care of that. Ooh, my light fell. And I will put this here, like so. Yeah, I thought it would work. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and just lift this. I don't want to tear it up. Okay, I think we can just pull this out. Yeah, good. Okay, so now I got that out of there, and I am going to pull this loop. Oh, that's cut. I wonder what that goes to. A bunch of these are cut. That's strange. Alright, so let's see. I'm gonna say a little twist is a good idea, and some solder. Okay, so I'm just gonna pull these guys together just enough to get hold of them with my needle nose, and I'm gonna twist them. Now I'm not wanting to add more stress to the wire here. I only really want to just make sure that they are held together in a way that will allow them to be soldered. Okay. All right, so it's kind of ugly, but that's okay. All right, let me go grab my soldering iron. All right, so I got my soldering iron, and I'm just gonna try not to damage anything. I think I need a new tip on this, but I'm not gonna worry about it terribly because it does seem to work fine. Okay, so I'm just gonna get right under this. We'll try to get a little melt in there. Just gonna saturate this with a bunch of, make sure it really gets in there. All right, that should be fine. And we'll just give it a little test. Yeah, that feels good. Cool, all right, that's fine. And that's good because that would be something hard to notice if you didn't know that it wasn't set up right. You know, if you thought, or if you didn't see that and you're trying to get this thing to work, it would be kind of confusing. So yeah, I think that'll be fine. So it's, yeah, that feels great. Okay, sweet. So I'm guessing these guys, I don't know, maybe these don't go to anything, or maybe this was a loop that was cut. I'm not sure. It's hard to tell. So, okay. I think that's it for everything underneath the playfield. Ooh. This doesn't look good. Oops, wait, let me get that off of there. So yeah, I don't know if, how, yeah, you can see it. Okay, so this coil probably still works fine. I can't really smell it because it's hard to smell, but it might have burned the cover off of it. But at the same time, these are old coils. These are probably all the original coils, actually. Let's see. This one was probably blue because all of the kicker type coils, oops, like this one is that's a ball kicker hole, and then these green ones, or the blue ones, I'm sorry, are lesser powered obviously too, but as compared to the flipper coils, which are pretty large. So you've got basically four different coil types. You've got bigger ones that are green over there for the flippers, and then you have blue for these types, mechanical ones, and then for pop bumpers it looks like they used, actually I'm gonna say these guys are original and the orange ones are replaced, but it is hard to tell. I could analyze it, I guess, but what's the point of that, right? I'm just like, with ADHD, OCD, and like, not the hand washing OCD, but you know, just mental OCD, I guess. Just a hyper-focus type of OCD. Maybe I should call it that, with hyper-focus, due to OCD and ADHD. You know, sometimes I get into that mode where I can focus really well and stuff like that. All right, so I'm gonna pause here and we'll go back to the top surface. Okay, so now I have two lights that I wanna put back in here, and these are gonna just be sitting on top of the playfield like this. So one thing I wanna do, just to make them look really nice, is I'm going to give this a little shot and see how this works. Oh yeah. Look at that. Looks brand new. Cool. And that's fine. Alright, so the way I want to do this is I have these two sets of wires, and I'm going to need to solder the ground on first, and it has solder on it already. So I should be able to just gently hold this like so.